This week, what we're talking about is happiness, and more specifically, contentment. So, not just being happy, but experiencing a true underlying sense of contentment with life. And yesterday, we talked about uh, 20 signs that indicate that a person is not really happy, or that is to say, content, even if they are convinced that they are content. So if you haven't seen that, go back to yesterday's orange slice and watch it. I don't know what happened with the color and the kind of the image quality of yesterday's orange slice. I was having some technical problems, but when I uploaded it, it did not look like that to me. So I'm sorry. It's the information within that orange slice that is most important, not how good the image looks. Today, we're going to talk about why the people that we talked about yesterday are not really happy, that is to say content, even if they think they are. Remember yesterday I told you to think about the irritability that a person might be experiencing in general, like them having a toothache. Remember that? Well, you can think of it like them having a toothache or like them having a pebble in their shoe. If your default mood is irritability, there's an underlying reason for that. And that underlying reason is like an irritation that is not being identified and corrected. It's amazing to watch. It's just like somebody walking around with a pebble in their shoe or with like a toothache. You can predict their behaviors and their lashing out and stuff almost the same as if you were looking at a person who has a toothache or a pebble in their shoe. Now, in this case, when we're talking about emotional health, it's not a literal pebble, it's not a literal toothache, but there are underlying causes that are making them miserable, and they don't even stop to realize that. Dissatisfaction with self plays a very large part of it. After you hear this orange slice, you're going to want to go back to yesterday's orange slice, the previous orange slice to this one, and go through that list of 20 things. And I want you to imagine the reasons that I'm giving you now. Imagine the person we're describing with these reasons in mind, and it should start to click into place for you. You should start to see the relationship between these two things without me having to go through and one by one explain how they are connected. Dissatisfaction with self. Person is dissatisfied with themselves. They don't like themselves. This translates into the type of behaviors and attitudes that we described yesterday. Do you remember we talked about an inability to control one's environment? I said that if it is your tendency to try to control your environment, then you're not really a happy person, even if you think you are. Why is that? It's because an inability to control one's environment, when one believes that they should be able to control their environment, or that the environment and players within the environment should do everything the way that an individual, the unhappy individual, wants it to be, this can only give birth to great dissatisfaction, not contentment. When one lives with the unconscious attitude that the environment should do what they want it to do and be the way they want it to be, but the reality is that the environment is completely out of one's control, always has been, always will be, what is the only thing that this can give birth to? Dissatisfaction, deep discontentment. Will we ever be able to control our environment, the world, the universe, other people? No, of course not. So what is the answer to eliminating this frustration? Is it trying harder to control our environments? No, that's not the answer. The answer is acceptance. It's acceptance. It's letting go of that desire. And like the Beatles say, letting it be. What is the only thing we can control, by the way? Us, ourselves. That's the only thing we have any power. That's the only thing we have any power over, and can affect any type of control or behavior or outcome with. Another reason why the people we talked about yesterday are not really happy, the why, is because these types of people have a poor understanding of what being a person means. It's very subtle, but it's true. They have a poor understanding of what being a person means. They don't know what being a person is. They don't understand what that means. And because they don't, this warps the way that unhealthy people view others and view relationships. So if your attitude reflects an aversion to other people having their own likes, dislikes, opinions, preferences, needs, and so forth that are not in line with yours, if this bothers you, it's because you don't see people as people. That's the bottom line. You don't see people as people. You see people as suppliers or deniers of your own wants and needs. Everything exists for you. It's an extension of your wants and needs. That's not the reality you're living in. It's the reality. That's what you think the reality is, but that's not the true reality you're living in. It's impossible to perceive other people as individuals while at the same time having an aversion and a dislike and a rejection or a reluctance to allow for people to have their own likes, dislikes, opinions, and so forth. Because that's what individuality is. That's what being a person is. You see, unhappy people view others as suppliers or deniers, as I've already mentioned, existing primarily for the unhealthy, unhappy person's own needs and wants. And that is not harmonious with truly viewing others as individuals. That perspective and the reality of people being individuals is totally contrary. That attitude, those perspectives, are totally contrary to the reality that all people are individuals. And finally, the reason why the people we described yesterday are not really happy, that is to say content, even if they think they are, is the misperception of concepts like worth and value when it comes to feelings and people. The only sorts of people who walk around with the attitudes and the behaviors that we described yesterday are people who view human value and the value of feelings as something that must be granted or earned. If you have a healthy person who knows that feelings just do have value, nobody has to agree with those feelings. I might feel something entirely different. I may not even understand why you feel that way. But your feelings still have value, and I know that. I know that the value does not come from me understanding why you feel that way, or me agreeing that the feeling is appropriate for any particular situation. Also, the worth of human beings. The idea that a person can have more value as a person or less value as a person depending on what they've got, how pretty they are, how ugly they are, how many friends they've got, how much money they've got. That is reasoning based on distorted, unhealthy perception. And it can only give birth to discontent, not contentment. Healthy people, on the other hand, know that human value is consistent because it's an inherent aspect of being a person. Again, that's tied into a person's poor understanding of what being a person even means. So these are some of the reasons why the 20 reasons we described yesterday that would indicate that a person is not truly content, even if they don't know it, even if they think they are content. Today, we just described the reasons why. So tomorrow, we're going to wrap up this conversation about happiness. We're going to talk about where contentment comes from, and I think you're going to like it. I hope you folks have a wonderful Thursday.